Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Daily Betslip. NFL Week 1 officially in the books. Capped off with a pretty solid game last night. Seahawks with a big upset over the Broncos. I'm joined today by Ben Heisler at Benny Heis. We've got a lot to talk about today. We got some picks for tonight. Obviously, no NFL tonight, but we got baseball. We got some WNBA final action. And we are, of course, going to talk football. Going to give out our favorite bounce back candidates in the NFL and maybe some recap thoughts from the first week. But Ben, before we get into picks really quick, you brought this beef up on Twitter. I said black cherry, best flavor of everything. You are hard disagree on that.
Yeah, first of all, cherry is not the best flavor for anything, let alone the fact that the cherry family has to reach into some sort of small, out of place flavor to go and find not just cherry, but black cherry. All it does is just hide the flavoring of the actual original thing. So if you're talking soda, I don't know if you're talking about like gummies, like where are you going with this? There's so many better flavors. Give me peach, give me lemon, give me lime. Black cherry falls so far down the list because all it's doing is just trying to substitute something for what shouldn't even need a flavor in the first place. It's a terrible thing.
This has been a hotly debated topic. I found out by talking to people about this that either you love black cherry or you hate it. There's no in between. But I was drinking a nice black cherry flavored water today, and it was delicious.
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily true because, Dr. Pepper kind of falls into that black cherry family, right? So, like, a diet Dr. Pepper once in a blue moon. I've tried to cut out soda over the last couple of years. Once in a while, like you get it with the right crushed ice, like you go to like a Sonic or something, hits the spot. But like often all the time, like the way you were describing it, Ian, was like, I got to have black cherry with something all the time. Like this is the go-to flavor. And I would put it, if I'm power ranking the flavors, it's probably number 8 at best.
Oh, let us know in the chat your opinions about black cherry flavored items. I think it is the top of the list. Ben certainly does not agree. Number 8. Disgraceful all the way down to number 8. But if you're watching this on Twitter, of course, head over to YouTube. You can live comment on the show. We got some community picks that were sent into us through Twitter today. If we didn't get to them though, or if you didn't send one in, feel free to let us know in the chat your best bet for tonight, and we'll bring it up. And I don't think I mentioned at the top of the show, game of the night as well. Padres Mariners. I believe the Twitter poll should still be live. I believe there should be a poll on YouTube. Vote in that to let us know the BetSided community pick for tonight's game. BetSided community was on Broncos minus 6.5 last night, so we need a little bounce back night from the people. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into those community picks that I mentioned. I think we have a few, and I think most of them are baseball. So this comes from fellow Canadian Nat at Amir Nat. Tampa Bay, Toronto, no runs first inning in under 8. I believe that was probably for the first game, which is now over. I don't know if the Nerfy hit, but I know it did stick under 8 runs, I believe. I believe it finished 4-3. If I can double check that here.
I like that you call it Nerfy. It's like Reed used to do this during NBA season. He wouldn't call it, PRAs for points, rebounds, and assists. He would exclusively refer to it as pros. But no, you're on Team Nerfy now. This is the first time I've heard you reference it as that. So it's Nerfy and Yerfy?
That's correct. Nerfies and Yerfies.
Kind of feels like they sound like Canadian characters in a TV show. Like Yerfy and Nerfy, like go and
it does, yes. Or like a Scandinavian characters, like Swedish characters.
Exactly. Just hanging out with Yuppie over at the top deck of Expo Stadium.
And she did have another pick in there. I believe it was Mike Trout to hit a home run in the Angels game. Mike Trout has hit a home run, I believe, in 5 straight games, is it?
I know that he had, I think, 5 for the previous few games. I'm not sure whether or not he hit last night. Interestingly enough, daily dinger picks from all of us have been going on. None of us have taken Mike Trout. There have been a few for Shohei Ohtani. Peter, I think, is going to be taking Aaron Judge the rest of the season in hopes that he can catch up to me. But yeah, Mike Trout, let's see, going over his last, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row. Mike Trout has hit a home run, and now
7
is right. So yeah, he's at 35 on the season.
So there you go. She is on Mike Trout to hit another dinger. Ben, what was your daily dinger bet for today?
Daily Dinger pick for me. I actually went with a guy named Josh Jung. It might be Young, might be a soft J. I actually need to double check that. But he is a fairly new call-up for the Texas Rangers. I actually am going to be talking about him a little bit later on in the show for best bets. But got him in around 4-1 today in a very good matchup against the Oakland Athletics. Josh Jung to try and get Dinger number 21 on the year.
There you go. And I got Eloy Jimenez. I believe that is a silent J in that last
Jimenez, yes. Eloy Jimenez.
And he is going up against Chad Kuhl in the Rockies, who I will also be talking about later on in the program. But let's bring up the second community pick for tonight. Bookie Killa at Bookie Killa 2. Sandy Alcantara over 6.5 strikeouts. Obviously, Sandy Alcantara, one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball tonight. Over 6.5 strikeouts. A little MLB prop for the people out there. Marlins. They are taking on, why am I blanking? Who are the Marlins playing tonight? The Phillies. That's right. I have a pitcher prop for the other side of things. But any thoughts on Sandy Alcantara tonight?
I'd have to go and double check and see as to what his recent lines have been. He's actually had a little bit of struggles over his last handful of starts, and this is still the definitive consensus pick for Cy Young. I mean, Alcantara, the last few starts, Ian, he's only gone 11 innings on the road against Atlanta and Philadelphia. He's given up 9 earned runs, and he's given up 4 home runs. Good news is that against Philadelphia's last time out, he had 7 strikeouts in 6 innings. A couple games before the complete game against the Dodgers, where he had 10 strikeouts. You know, he's just been inconsistent for somebody who has been so consistent all year. 6.5 against the Phillies team. I suppose it's free swinging and going to Miami, where he's been a much better pitcher. 1.61 ERA over the course of 106 innings at Miami. I don't mind the play at all. I think, especially if you're looking for him to start to get back on track, he'll want to do it in his home ballpark where he's just been nails all year.
Phillies, an average team when it comes to strikeout rate, 18th in Major League Baseball in strikeout rate. Let's go ahead with the next pick, which I think is one more MLB pick, I think. Yes. Marshall and Messina at Messina Marshall. Mariners money line. Obviously, this is our game of the night, so we know which way Marshall is leaning. We will save our thoughts on that game when we get to the game of the night at the end of the program, so stay tuned for that. But now we know Marshall is on the Mariners. And let's bring up our final community pick, which I believe is a pick for Dana White's Contender Series.
Oh, boy.
The UFC Farm program tonight. Ben, just like I'm probably not going to have much to add to the WNBA finals pick you have later. I would imagine you probably don't have too much to add to this one. I had to look this up as well. I'm not a big Dana White Contender Series watcher, but I love when people give out these bets. Marnik Man is an underdog tonight. It is a women's, I didn't get the weight class, but it is a women's fight. Marnik Man against Bruna Brazil. And Marnik Man is a plus 121 underdog. And if you want to tail our friend here and take her by knockout, you can get that all the way up at 9-1.
Wow.
So bring in the heat. Bring in the heat on today's show. I like that quite a bit. Maybe they know something that we don't know, because this fighter is an underdog in tonight's Dana White Contender Series. So I love that. Switching it up from Major League Baseball. I did get a lot of soccer picks sent in to me today as well, but unfortunately all of those games have either started or already finished by the time we went live, so could not break those down. But I hope all of you won. I'll say that.
Nothing but winners.
Yes, let's move on to our best bets. I believe we have 5 in Major League Baseball and 1 in WNBA. So why don't we just alternate back and forth, and I'll start with MLB, and then the final best bet will be your WNBA play.
Perfect. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Going to go with a player prop here. Someone gave out Sandy Alcantara over strikeouts earlier. I'm going to go with the other starting pitcher in that game. I'm going to go with the Phillies, Bailey Falter, over 4.5 strikeouts here, minus 118. Miami Marlins, highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitchers this season, and it's not even close. They have struck out 28.1% of their plate appearances. And sorry, I should have said against left-handed pitchers. Bailey Falter is a lefty. They have struck out in 28.1% of their plate appearances against lefties. That is the worst mark in the majors this season by 1.8%, which is a pretty wide margin. And that number has been even worse in recent weeks, dating back to August 1st. They have a strikeout rate of 28.9% against lefties. And tonight, they face Bailey Lefter, who has surpassed this number in 6 of his last 8 starts. So even just based on his own history, this number is not very high. I'll go Bailey Falter over 4.5 strikeouts tonight against the Marlins.
Listen, if it involves if it involves going against the Marlins with regards to trying to shut them down offensively, very likely I'm going to stand behind it. You mentioned the strikeout numbers. Miami has just been atrocious as a team, especially in the second half. You mentioned dead last against right-handed pitchers, dead last in slugging, dead last in weighted on base average. Of course, the one time that I ended up going with the strikeout prop against them was in that doubleheader game against Texas. Took the under, I believe, in that game, and of course they scored 10 runs. So the one time that the Marlins broke out, they scored more runs in one game than they'd had over the last 7 games combined. So anything involving the Marlins and unders, and especially going against them on the strikeout prop, I got no issues there. I do have a prop bet for you, Ian.
Let's hear it.
The guy that I mentioned just before, but I'm going to take something a little bit more safe than just a home run play. Josh Jung, Texas Rangers, recently called him up. Going to take the over 1.5 on his total bases for tonight against Oakland. 5 games in his big league career from Texas Rangers PR staff, he has 4 extra base hits. He has 2 home runs, 2 doubles. That's tied for the most ever by a Ranger in his first 5 major league games with Ruben Mateo and Ruben Sierra. So if Josh Jung's first name was Ruben, then it would have just been an automatic guarantee to go ahead. He had to earn it on his own accord by not being a part of the Ruben Club. He gets Ken Waldichuk of the Oakland Athletics. Couple starts in the big leagues, 3.6 ERA. Sounds good, but if you look a little bit past that, his fielding independent pitching is more than 2 runs higher than that. Comes in at 5.62. He has gave up a 2 home run game in only 5 1/3 innings against Atlanta his last time out. And right now, Jung's numbers against left-handers, he's got a 571 isolated power, which is a metric that basically just takes power along with different sort of ballpark metrics into consideration. Replacement level in the big leagues, 0.140. He's right around 4 times that against lefties. Again, very small sample size, but this is a dude that's absolutely locked in. They haven't gotten a full scouting report on him yet. And he's going up against a pitcher who's due for some regression. I think he continues the hot streak, gets one over the fence tonight, and I think you can kind of supplement that by taking plus value on his over 1.5 total bases, because that's all the guy's doing. He's hitting home runs and he's hitting doubles.
Love it. So a couple of MLB player props there for the people. I'm going to move on to my run line bet of the night. I'm going to take the White Sox minus 1.5 against the Rockies here. This is just basically very simple handicap. It is a fade of the Rockies starting pitcher, Chad Kuhl, who might be one of the only starting pitchers in Rockies history who has a significantly worse ERA on the road than at home. Did I lose my audio? Am I back?
You're back. You're here.
Something weird just happened on my screen. I thought I lost everyone. Okay. Chad Kuhl, significantly worse ERA on the road than at home, which is extremely rare for Rockies pitchers considering their home park is at altitude at Coors Field. He goes from a 4.67 ERA at home all the way up to 6.0 ERA on the road and a 1.651 whip. He has also allowed at least 3 earned runs in 9 straight starts. He's a bum. Also, White Sox offense has been pretty hot lately. 7th in OPS this month, 2nd in batting average. I think they win big. I'll take White Sox on the run line, even money.
Can't argue with it. It's an opportunity for Chad Kuhl to go away from hitter-friendly Coors Field and continue to struggle. White Sox been playing some better baseball, trying to make it a little bit more competitive. I think since August 30th, they're top 3 in slugging percentage as well as home runs. So Tony La Russa's team basically started playing well once he ended up leaving. He's now back, so we'll see whether or not the fun continues for them. I'm going to take a dog tonight. I know everything kind of lines up against Milwaukee here, but they're starting to play some really good baseball and trying to get themselves within the thick of things in the National League wildcard spot. They're on the road at St. Louis. And Jordan Montgomery's been on the mound. He's been undefeated for St. Louis since he came over there. But I think Milwaukee, based on the fact that they're starting to swing a little bit better bats, we're taking some better at-bats against left-handed pitching. This is a matchup that I think they can handle. And they're going to go bullpen tonight with Matt Bush getting the start. He's been very solid for them, 3.23 ERA, 69 strikeouts, a walks, hits per innings pitched of just 1. And I like them to kind of play the matchups right against St. Louis. This has been the best team in all of baseball against left-handed pitching. So you take a scenario where you can kind of make sure that their power hitters and Goldschmidt and Arenado, Pujols, who's been just unreal against lefties, you kind of take it out of their hands to play it right and find the ideal spot. And I think they can hang with them. And Montgomery, for as good as he's been, he's still starting to look a little bit more susceptible, more like the first half pitcher that we saw in New York, who was good, but not at the exceptional level in this early going for St. Louis. I think Milwaukee's live here. They want to try and close the gap a little bit, and especially knowing that San Diego is starting to falter a little bit down the stretch. They know that wild card spot is still available for them. So give me Milwaukee on the money line for an upset pick tonight.
There you go, a little underdog pick in some NL Central action. I also have an underdog pick in a divisional matchup. Not a divisional matchup. It is the Giants plus 144 from the NL West taking on the Atlanta Braves from the NL East here. They beat them last night. I think they can beat them again. I think we might be starting to see a little bit of regression from the Braves, at least offensively. Only 10th in OPS and 13th in batting average against right-handed pitchers this month. Meanwhile, Giants are 8th in both of those stats against righties. And tonight is a battle of righties between Kyle of Wright and Jacob Junis. And let's not forget, one of Wright's worst starts this season, outside of that, actually his latest start where he got absolutely lit up, was a start against the Giants where he gave up 10 hits and 4 earned runs in 5.1 innings pitched. So I like the Giants tonight as an underdog. Braves should definitely be favored. I don't think by as much as what they are. So San Francisco plus 144 tonight.
Yeah,
which wraps up. Nope, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, no, makes plenty of sense. I think what's been so good for Junis, and I remember him from his time in Kansas City, is he had issues keeping the ball in the ballpark. In San Francisco, since he's come over there, he's done a really good job using a lot more breaking pitches. His fastball was always the pitch that kind of got hit up and out in the zone. But he's using his curveball, his slider more. He's been a lot stronger. So I think you can continue to rely on him, especially with the Braves lineup starting to go back to that level that we saw maybe in the early portion of the season.
Yep, for sure. So a couple underdogs, a couple props, a run line pick. That wraps up our MLB picks portion. But don't forget tonight, WNBA final matchup as well. Ben, what is your best bet for this game?
So for those that have been hanging out with myself and Donovan over at BetSided, trying to find the different plays, we got off to a great start, like 10-3 in our first quarter bets. And it was basically an indication of following trends from the regular season. It continued on throughout August. We saw it really start to work out well. And then in September, it's just basically completely gone to hell in a handbasket. So we're trying something a little bit different. Both Donovan and I like the Aces tonight in game 2. They're 4.5-point favorites, but I like them a little bit earlier on. I'm going to take the Aces first half -2.5 against Connecticut, because I think if we've learned anything, Ian, over the course of this postseason, is that now the trends that you thought you could rely on are starting to go the opposite direction. So on Sunday in game 1, the Aces had been terrible in the first quarter at home. They had basically been outscored in almost every game. Instead, they get off to a good start against Connecticut, get an 8-point lead, and then they let the Sun basically completely outplay them in the second quarter and only put up 9 points. This is the best offense in the WNBA. So I think right now I am going to back a trend that I saw consistently, but in the postseason, which is where the Aces, who despite being outscored 21-9 in game 1, I think they're going to go on a nice run, and Becky Hammond's going to make a lot of changes to be able to get their offense in a better free-flowing state, be able to make some more points. They've been unbelievable, with the exception of Sunday in the second quarter. Their net rating is up near 41.4, and it dropped to 21.3 because of the game that we saw on Sunday. So I think they're going to make a run in the second quarter. They're going to be able to move on. And I think 2.5 points, considering that they're a 4.5-point favorite, they're the better team here. And I think, especially knowing the sense of urgency to make sure that they can get both games at home, I like them to come out of the first half with a lead of 3 points or more.
So there you have it. The Aces trying to go up 2-0 in the WNBA final. You are back in them both in the first half and in the second quarter specifically, which does it for our picks of the night. Let's go ahead and quickly bring up the recap graphic, which shows our best bets for tonight. I'm on over 4.5 strikeouts for Bailey Falter against the Miami Marlins. White Sox -1.5 against the Rockies. Giants on the money line, my underdog pick for tonight. +144 against the Braves. Ben, you're on over 1.5 total bases at plus money for Josh Jung or Josh Young.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out at a later date, name pending. But you're also on Brewers +160 against the Cardinals. In Aces first half -2.5 and Aces second quarter -1.5 against the Sun in WNBA Finals Game 2. Let's switch back to the NFL, and just so you know, we will have a pick for the game of the night, Mariners Padres, at the end of the show as well. But let's quickly, just for a couple of minutes here, talk NFL. What is your biggest takeaway from Week 1 of the season, Ben? Because a lot happened in Week 1.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway is that we're probably going to see a lot more close games, and the level of competition, at least early on in the season, is not as bright and bold that maybe we initially thought. I mean, 60% of most Survivor leagues were already eliminated as a result of all the upsets. You saw the Texans be able to tie the Colts, but there were trends that would indicate that Indy has been a very slow starter. San Francisco, Trey Lance started off looking pretty good, and then the rain really started to come down, and San Francisco wasn't able to adjust. There's still going to be these quality teams, but I think more than ever, we're seeing a lot of overreactions to Week 1, and we're starting to see it within a lot of the lines coming out for Game 2. I think overall, Ian, it's important to remember teams that really didn't play a lot of their top guys in the preseason, a lot of them looked pretty bad. The Rams were one of those teams. 49ers, another example. Broncos on Monday night. Like, these guys need some time to be able to gel. And I get the notion behind wanting to make sure that you come into the regular season healthy, but I think it's something that we really need to take away for future considerations, that you can't necessarily think about the team overall. You really have to start thinking about whether or not the reps coming in could impact it, because the teams that played well more than often this week were the teams that were able to get some reps and some continuity together over the course of the preseason.
My biggest takeaway is I might have underestimated the Chiefs. I kind of went all offseason saying the Chiefs are going to take a big step back. I thought Tyreek Hill was going to hurt their offense, but when I did the pregame show with Matt Verderam on Sunday, he made a very good point that, yes, they don't have anyone at wideout who's as electric and as good as Tyreek Hill, but he said that the Chiefs have a deeper wide receiver core than what they've had in years past. They have more good guys, maybe one less excellent guy, but a lot more good guys. And I think that's what we saw in Week 1. Now, maybe I'm overreacting a little bit, but they destroyed a playoff team from last year in the Arizona Cardinals. This is the biggest butt kicking of the entire week. So I might need to cool it on my Kansas City Chiefs takes for the time being, because they look fantastic in Week 1. So my foot is in my mouth a little bit about them, at least for the time being. Still a lot of football left to be played. One other NFL thing that I want to get to here is who is going to be a bounce back candidate for Week 2? Who didn't look so great in Week 1 that you expect to look much better this weekend?
I mean, there's a handful of teams I think you can consider. The one that I really think is going to come out and play substantially better is my survivor pick this week, even coming off of a short week, and that's the Denver Broncos. If you had a bingo card of bad coaching decisions, like Nathaniel Hackett might have knocked off all of them, might have called bingo in the final 2 minutes of that game, and that was still, almost a dozen penalties over the course of the game. You had 2 goal line fumbles in that game, dropped touchdowns in that game. Like everything that could, it was Murphy's Law for the Broncos in Seattle, and then you try a 64-yard field goal instead of putting the ball in the hands of the highest paid quarterback in the league that you brought in specifically for this reason. The matchup this week, in week 2 for Denver is going to be sizable. Houston had a nice win at home, but now it's not going to be as easy going on the road at Mile High. They're going to make the adjustments that they need. And they were still fairly dominant. Probably could have won this game by 2 possessions if they really wanted to and actually made some execution. So they'll fix a lot of those mistakes. And I look at Denver right now saying, yeah, everybody's kind of trying to stay as far away from them as humanly possible. But there's too much talent on this team, especially in a matchup at home against Houston, for me to not look at them and say, yeah, they're deserving of being, 10-point favorites here.
Yeah, I like that call quite a bit. You mentioned they really did outplay Seattle, even though they lost 4th in the NFL in yards per play in the opening weeks. So Denver looked good, didn't come away with a win. But hey, that's football. That will happen sometimes. My pick for a bounce-back candidate, and it hurts me to do this because they're going to bounce back against my favorite team, the Falcons, is the LA Rams. There is no doubt they looked terrible in week 1. You did mention Matt Stafford and a lot of the other starters did not play in the preseason. That certainly could have affected them in game 1. And let's not forget, they played against the Super Bowl favorites in the Buffalo Bills. Now, what better team to bounce back against than my lowly Atlanta Falcons? Not to mention Aaron Donald is going to eat this interior offensive line up because that's exactly the weak point of the Falcons offense. So I think the Rams win big in week 2. They are my survivor pick for week 2. And also, side note, survivor, I think if you're going to pick the Rams, now is a good time to do it because Stafford might have elbow issues. His elbow did not look good in week 1. That's only going to get worse as the season goes on. If you're going to want to use a survivor pick on the Rams, do it now before that elbow becomes more of an issue and before their schedule gets a lot tougher, which it does for the Rams further down the road. So bounce back candidate, week 2, Rams, going to kill my Falcons. It's going to be ugly.
It's tough because I was looking at the Rams as well. They have maybe a couple decent matchups to go. The Broncos do have the Jets at home in week 7. That was kind of a tipping point as well. But yeah, I kind of give the Falcons credit. They were fun, and then they kind of falconed all over themselves towards the end. Don't think this is going to be pretty heading into LA, but Jalen Ramsey looked like, if you talk about how Matt Stafford looked bad, Jalen Ramsey might have looked worse. And again, it's against Buffalo. So, but I mean, Atlanta still got some receivers. Like him against Drake London is going to be interesting. If he tries to help on Kyle Pitts, that's going to be interesting as well. And Mariota looked serviceable. So maybe that actually kind of scared me a little bit. And maybe the Rams maybe they're just not that team that's as motivated this year after everything that they accomplished from a season ago. But certainly a well worthwhile survivor pick for this week.
Yes, we will see, but I do think they're going to bounce back in a big way. And they're going to remind everyone why they're Super Bowl champions. But let's talk game of the night here. Mariners hosting the Padres, a battle between 2 wild card teams in opposite leagues here. Logan Gilbert, I believe, is going up against Yu Darvish. It is a late game tonight, 9:40 p.m. Eastern start. We have our best bets locked in. Ben, why don't you start us off? What's your best bet for tonight's game of the night?
Love the under. 7.5 right now. 2 very, very good pitchers on the mound. Gilbert especially had been better at home. Like to see the strikeouts starting to go up for him. San Diego's offense, they're so talented, Ian, and just for whatever reason, they haven't gelled together. They haven't been able to get things going the way that they need to. Gilbert, back-to-back games, shot 9 strikeouts in each game, 6 innings, last 12 innings, 18 strikeouts, 7 hits, 1 walk, no runs allowed. He hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs since August 14th when he gave up 3 on the road at Texas. Meanwhile, for Darvish, he always tends to do a little bit better at home, but Seattle has had some issues with the strikeout as of late. And Darvish right now averaging about 25 strikeouts, or it's not 25 strikeouts, I'm sorry, a strikeout rate of about 25%. Had some issues with his walks the last time against Arizona, but the prior game against a very good Dodgers team put up the Logan Gilbert line, except he went 7 innings with 9 strikeouts. These are 2 quality pitchers in a pitcher's park with the game on the line. So I'm going to go ahead and back the pitchers here. Give me the under at 7.5.
I like the under. I was deciding between the under and the way that I'm going to go, which is I'm just going to take the Mariners on the money line here. I'm surprised they're only small favorites here. Padres has been one of the worst offensive teams in baseball in the month of September. 26th in OPS at 662. Mariners rank 11th in that stat during that time frame. Also, Yu Darvish, I will say, and this is what actually kind of scared me off the under at the end, is that he has been significantly worse on the road than at home this season. 2.45 ERA at home, all the way up to 4.09 on the road. So, and also, it can't be understated how good this Mariners bullpen is. 5th in bullpen ERA this season, 3rd in bullpen ERA since July 1st. So I think the Mariners are actually the much better team in this game. If they're at home and they're only slight favorites. So that confuses me. I think this line is off. I will take the Seattle Mariners minus 114, and the BetSided community agrees with me. The poll results are in. The community hopefully will bounce back from last night, because if they don't, that means I'm also going to lose. Myself in the community, both on Mariners minus 114. Ben, you are on the under, which I do like quite a bit tonight. Should be a good one. Have that on one screen, have the WNBA finals on the other screen, and you got yourself a good night.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I think so too, especially given the quality of both those teams. Everybody wins if it's like Mariners 3, Padres 2. So give me a close game, couple big hits late, a couple big buckets for the end of the first half for the Aces, and we walk away winners.
There you have it. So that is our show. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. We got a big day coming up tomorrow. Also, by the way, don't forget to check out the early read, which aired earlier today. Read with special guest Connor O'Gara broke down the best college football picks for this week. And then tomorrow morning, special little surprise for the people. An interview will be released with myself and Rex Ryan, the former NFL head coach. So tune in for that. That was a fun interview. And then tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Yes, that was very fun. Little spoiler alert. I talked to him about it right at the start of the interview. Rex Ryan, noted Toronto Maple Leafs fan. So I will talk to him about that. And then tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, it'll be myself and Donovan for the first 15 minutes. And then I will have on special guest Joe Osborne. It turns out I'm trying to just have Joes on as guests on the show. That'll be
not just Joes, Ian, but Joe O's. Like, you're cornering the market on Joe O's as guests.
Yes, Monday we had Joe Fan, so I did sneak in a Joe F.
Oh, you're right. You had a Joe F and then 2 Joe O's over the course of
3 straight Joes. 3. It might just be. I might just keep getting Joes on as guests. So check that out. 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We'll be back. Like I said, myself, Donovan, first 15 minutes, and then of course Joe will join me at quarter after to talk. I don't know what we'll talk about. Baseball, football. We'll talk a little bit of everything. Thank you all for watching. Good luck with your bets tonight. Gamble or bless. And we'll see you later.